Welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving into a thrilling and emotional story that you definitely don't want to miss. But before we get started, if you enjoy our content, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming exciting videos. Your support is the biggest motivation for us to keep sharing amazing stories. And now, let's jump right into the story. The fluorescent lights at Lam Veen Rehabilitation Center emitted a soft hum, blending with the still and chilly atmosphere of the pristine white hallway. Lanon hurried down the corridor, the scent of disinfectant and freshly polished floors mingling with the faint metallic tang of medical equipment. It was her fourth month working at the center, and the repetitive nature of caring for patients showing no signs of improvement was wearing her down. Yet nothing could have prepared her for what awaited in room 307. Lanon paused in front of the door, her hand gripping the cold handle. Inside was Nguyen Min, a 40-year-old man who had once been the CEO of a major corporation, now trapped in a vegetative state after a car accident. Min had been a towering figure, leading boardroom meetings, gracing magazine covers, and attending lavish parties. But now, he was merely a shadow of his former self, imprisoned in his own body. His family no longer visited regularly, leaving his care to nurses and medical staff. Taking a deep breath, Lanon opened the door and stepped inside. Min lay motionless on the adjustable bed, his short hair disheveled. His eyes were wide open but vacant, staring at the ceiling. The machines around him emitted steady beeping sounds, a reminder that his body was alive, even if his consciousness seemed absent. "Good morning, Mr. Min," Lanon greeted softly, her voice laced with routine. "The weather's lovely today." She pulled the curtains back, letting pale sunlight stream in. Then she began her daily tasks, checking his vitals, repositioning him to prevent bed sores, and inspecting the feeding tubes. Despite her exhaustion, a faint glimmer of hope lingered in her heart, that one day, Min might wake up. As she wiped her hands after finishing her duties, she suddenly felt a shift in the room's atmosphere. Something was different, though she couldn't pinpoint what. Lanon glanced back at Min, but he remained still. "Maybe it's just my imagination," she told herself. The next day, she returned to the room with an inexplicable sense of unease. As she entered, she froze in her tracks. Min was no longer staring at the ceiling. His head had tilted slightly toward the window, where sunlight poured in. Her breath caught. "Mr. Min," she called softly, but there was no response. Then she saw it, a single tear trailing slowly down Min's cheek before vanishing along his sharp jawline. She stepped back, her heart racing. Was he trying to communicate? Lanon rushed out to call Dr. Tan, the doctor in charge of Min's case. When they returned, Dr. Tan checked the equipment and shook his head. "The vitals are stable. There's no change." "But I saw it," Lanon insisted, her voice trembling. "Lanon, I understand you care deeply for your patients, but fatigue can make the mind see things that aren't there," Dr. Tan said sympathetically. Lanon didn't argue, but deep down, she knew she wasn't imagining things. That night, she decided to return to Min's room. The space was quiet, bathed in soft moonlight that illuminated his face. "Good night, Mr. Min," she whispered. But just as she turned to leave, a faint voice stopped her in her tracks. "Lanon, don't go." She spun around, her eyes wide with shock. Min was looking directly at her. His gaze was no longer vacant, but alive, brimming with emotion. Lanon approached cautiously, her legs trembling. "You're awake?" Min breathed heavily, each word a struggle. "Help me." She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "Help you? What do you mean?" With great effort, Min rasped, "Don't trust them." Her eyes widened, confusion swirling in her mind. Before she could ask more, footsteps echoed in the hallway. The door swung open, and Dr. Tan entered, his expression tinged with suspicion. "Lanon, what are you doing here at this hour?" She quickly turned away, masking her unease. "I was just doing a final check." Dr. Tan nodded but scrutinized her closely. "You should rest. Your shift is over." Lanon left the room, her heart pounding. Min's words echoed in her mind. Don't trust them. Who were they? And why was he warning her? She knew she couldn't ignore this. Min needed help, and if the people in charge weren't trustworthy, she would have to find a way to protect him herself. Lanon couldn't sleep all night. Min's words echoed in her mind. Don't trust them. Who were they? Why had Min issued such a warning? And how was he able to communicate when all medical reports claimed he had no consciousness? The next morning, she decided to act. While her colleagues were busy, she slipped into the records archive. Lamveen stored all patient data there: medical reports, accident records, and doctor's notes. She searched for Min's file. It took some time, but she eventually found the thick folder labeled Nguyen Min. Sitting down, she opened the file, her eyes scanning each page. The accident report stated that Min had suffered a severe head injury in a car rollover, leading to his vegetative state. There were no signs of foul play or criminal suspicion. But as she turned to the subsequent medical reports, Lanon felt something was off. Dr. Tan's notes, the lead physician responsible for Min, repeatedly stated that Min's condition showed no improvement. But why were the notes identical, word for word, sentence for sentence? Frowning, she continued digging. A report from 6 months earlier by a neurologist, Dr. Hong, mentioned that Min had shown mild responses to neural stimulation. But after that, there were no further reports from Dr. Hong. Searching for Dr. Huang's name in the center staff directory, she found nothing. A chill ran down her spine. Something was being hidden. While she was deep in thought, she heard footsteps outside. The door swung open, and Dr. Tan entered, his eyes narrowing suspiciously at Lanon. "What are you doing here, Lanon?" he asked, his voice calm but probing. She quickly closed the file, trying to appear composed. "I was just checking some patient information to better understand their conditions." "That's not your job," he replied, his tone sharpening. "Nguyen Min's records are sensitive. If you don't want trouble, you'd best not be curious." Lanon left the archive room, but the unease lingered. Dr. Tan knew something, and he was hiding it. That night, Lanon didn't go home. She decided to return to the center when it was quiet. Armed with a small flashlight and a resolve to uncover the truth, she snuck into Min's room. He lay still, his gaunt face illuminated by the soft glow of moonlight. "Mr. Min," she whispered, taking his hand. "If you can hear me, please give me a sign." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then his fingers twitched slightly. She held her breath, her eyes fixed on him. "What do you want me to do?" she asked. Min's eyes slowly blinked twice, as if signaling. Lanon thought quickly. 1 blink for yes, 2 blinks for no, right? Min blinked once. She pressed on. "Is someone at this center doing something wrong?" He blinked once. "Is it Dr. Tan?" Again, he blinked once. A chill ran down her spine. Min was warning her about the very doctor in charge of his care. Lanon knew she couldn't stop there. She needed evidence. With the help of a trusted colleague, she gained access to the center's computer system. Within the classified files, she uncovered a series of suspicious financial transactions linked to Min. Some documents revealed that certain individuals were deliberately keeping him in a vegetative state to control his immense wealth. She discovered that Min's family had been deceived into relinquishing guardianship, transferring decision-making authority to a shady management group, headed by none other than Dr. Tan. Lanon decided to confront Dr. Tan. She presented the evidence she had found and demanded an explanation. Initially, Dr. Tan tried to deny everything. But when Lanon threatened to call the police, he was forced to admit that he was working for a group that wanted to keep Min in a vegetative state to maintain control over his corporation. With courage and determination, Lanon reported the case to the authorities. The group behind the scheme was arrested, and Min was finally transferred to a specialized hospital, where he received proper care. A month later, Lanon received news from the hospital. Min had made progress. He was beginning to communicate more effectively, and those with malicious intent no longer had the chance to harm him. Although Lanon had left Lamveen, she knew she had done the right thing. She would never forget the look of gratitude in Min's eyes in their final moments before parting ways. One bright morning, after long days of work at a new medical center, Lanon received a letter. The envelope bore the sender's name, Nguyen Min. Her heart raced as she opened it. Inside was a short handwritten note. "Lan Anh, I don't know how to express my gratitude to you. Without you, I might have remained trapped in my own body forever. Thanks to your persistence and bravery, I have regained my freedom and hope. I am currently in recovery and have started speaking again. Although the road ahead is long, I know I am not alone, for you have given me the strength to believe. I hope that one day we can meet again, not only so I can thank you in person, but also to share the new life I've reclaimed. If possible, I'd love for you to join a charitable project I am building, a nonprofit medical center where every patient receives care with kindness and dedication, just as you cared for me. Thank you, Lanan. Thank you for believing in the impossible and making it possible. Gratefully, Win-Min. Lanan smiled, her heart filled with warmth. The difficult and dangerous days suddenly felt more meaningful than ever. She folded the letter and held it in her hands like a precious keepsake. In the weeks that followed, Lanan received an invitation to join the project Min had mentioned. It was a medical center dedicated to treating patients in difficult circumstances or those with special cases like Min's. Though hesitant at first, as she stepped into the center, a newly built facility surrounded by greenery and tranquility, she felt as though she had found a new purpose in life. Min, still requiring some assistance to move, appeared to welcome her. He looked much healthier than the last time she had seen him. His eyes shone with determination, like someone reborn after enduring a long darkness. Lanan, Min said, his voice still weak but steady. Thank you for coming. This center wouldn't have been possible without you. You gave me a second chance, and now I want us to offer that same chance to others. She looked at him, filled with admiration. Min had not only overcome his illness, but was now using his recovery to inspire hope in others. From that moment, Lanan and Min embarked on a new journey together at the center. They worked side by side, sharing ideas and dedicating their efforts to helping more people. Occasionally, as she walked down the white hallways of the center, reminiscent of the place she once worked, Lanan would reflect on the early days of fear and struggle. But now, she understood that every challenge carried meaning if one dared to believe in the good. With Min's determination and Lanan's dedication, the center quickly became a sanctuary for many patients and their families. Their story wasn't just about saving one life. It became an inspiration for hundreds, even thousands, a testament that even in the darkest moments, faith and courage can light the way to a new path. Lanan and Min stood in front of the new medical center, where laughter and hope echoed through the hallways. Min looked at Lanan, his eyes filled with gratitude. Lanan, it's not just me. So many others are getting a second chance at life thanks to your dedication. I hope we can keep working together to help even more people. Lanan smiled, the afternoon sunlight casting a radiant glow on her face. That's always been my dream, Min. Helping others is the greatest joy of my life. The camera lingers on the two standing in front of the center, a symbol of hope and compassion, as the text appears. The story of Lanan and Min proves that faith and courage can change even the most hopeless fates. Call to action. If you found this story meaningful and want to continue exploring more inspiring stories with us, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, so you won't miss any of our upcoming exciting videos. Thank you for watching. See you again in the next heartfelt story. Red Heart.